Basic communication skills, Module 8. In this section, we will be discussing the different types of communication used in construction or any type of job setting. So we will be able to describe the communication of listening and speaking processes and their relationship to job performance. So therefore, we should be able to describe the communication process and the importance of listening and speaking skills. Describe the listening process and identify good listening skills, and describe the speaking processes and identify good speaking skills. So we're looking at listening and speaking and how we in the job force that we should be able to communicate well. Here's some trade terms. Jargon is just specialized terms used for specific industries. So in other words, when we call a piece of wood a 2x4, we all know what we're talking about because we know that is actually inch and a half by 3.5 inches. Um, Nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is the type of communication used that not the words coming out your mouth, but how you are reacting to it. In other words, the expression on your face, your body language, all those would tell you nonverbal communication. And as a matter of fact, the majority of communication is done by nonverbal communication. That's why text messages and other things like that is probably the worst way to communicate to someone because they lose all of that nonverbal communication. That's why there's so many disagreements because of text messages and emails and things like that. Either you got to be extremely good at communicating your written skills or stop doing it and call somebody up or make a meeting to meet with them face to face, or anything that's really important should probably be a face to face meeting. Active learning is a process that involves respecting others, listening to what they are being said, and understand what is being said as active. In other words, you just don't hear somebody and don't understand what they're saying, but you actually trying to understand what they're trying to tell you. In other words, you're asking questions. If you don't understand, you ask them a question. What do you mean? Or I didn't get this. Body language. Again, it's like that nonverbal communication. Body language is the person's facial expression, physical posture, the gestures, and the use of space, all of which communicates feelings of and ideals. Again, paraphrasing is basically expressing something in your own words. In other words, not relying on something, but paraphrasing is repeating something in a different way. Here's the essential communication skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Listening is workers must hear instruction clearly and know how to respond to certain sounds. In other words, is that somebody call your name, you should look up. You should see what they're asking you. That's listening. Of course, when someone is speaking to you, you want to look them in the eye. So not looking away, not looking down, not not caring about what they're saying, but that's how they know, pretty sure that you are listening. Speaking is allowing experienced workers to train others and share essential information. In other words, um, speaking is basically words coming out your mouth, making sounds, and being able to put something coherent together that they understand. Reading, of course, something that we do quite a bit. We read instructions, we read um, prints for drawings, all those things we have to interpret. So reading is construction and personnel must be able to read and interpret drawings, specifications, manufactured documents. It's something that we do on a regular basis, and that's to be effective on the job in the construction industry. Writing, um, the higher up you go in positions in construction, more writing you would do. In other words, becoming proficient in how to communicate, um, written form is extremely important because you can always call somebody up or have the time to have a communication through face-to-face or over the phone or through virtual ways such as Zoom. But sometimes you have to put things together because trying to put a logical thought together. So again, writing is something that is necessary. Here's the communication process. It sounds pretty elementary, pretty simple, but it starts out somebody sending information. That's the sender, sending information either through a computer or through a text message, through speaking, through whatever, sending a letter. So the sender have the communication channel. What is that communication channel? I just named them all. Somebody speaking to you, or email, or text message, or a phone call. I mean, whatever it is, that's the communication channel. But it's going to someone. So when that person receives it, if they understands it, they should have some type of feedback. And the feedback is when that person responds back to you some type of way, either through an email or a phone call, or you face to face and you actually talking to each other. That is feedback. In other words, feedback is the return information, usually to let that sender know that you understand what they just said and you are responding to their requests. However, when there's a breakdown in that communication somehow, either in the channel of communication or the receiver not understanding, there will be, let's say the feedback will be incorrect, or in other words, they may not respond at all, or what the information you get is not what you're asking for. So that's why it's extremely important how you communicate. So it says here the communication channel can be an audible, spoken, or written event. Either way, there are a sender and one or more receivers involved. Noise can interfere with and sometimes completely stop communication at any point of the process. So noise is basically some type of interference. In other words, electronic signals, they call noise, is the static. And you cannot understand something because of the static. So in this case here, if you're not very good at communicating, or in both either verbally or written form, or the communication channel, it's not, let's say you got a bad signal and they cannot hear you, or whatever reason, it is a breakdown in the communication process. Nonverbal communication, again, it tells you a lot. Um, People communicate non-verbally all the time, sometimes intentionally or sometimes unintentionally. But here's are the basic methods of non-verbal communication. How you carry yourself and the way you dress. You telling a story to the person or the people you are meeting. You're grooming. So in other words, if you got dirty clothes on and a shirt torn, um, is not buttoned up, telling the person you're meeting something about yourself. So how you dressed. The grooming could be your hair need to be combed. You forgot to brush your teeth that morning. It tells somebody something. They know. Everybody know when you don't brush your teeth that there's a problem somewhere. But the way you dress, condition of the personal environment. Let's say you're working around a job and it's just a chaos, it's just junk everywhere. That tells a lot about you as a person, that um, how you want things, how you expect things to be. If you don't keep your environment right, most people don't care and they will make sure they mess it up. But if you keep something tidy and neat and cleaned up and safe, they would know that this is a safe environment. This is a clean environment. Let me keep it up the same way. The use of time is important. In construction, time is everything. Time is money. And the waste of it can make you very unprofitable. Uh, be able to manage it correctly can make you successful. So, another nonverbal communication, facial expressions, posture, gestures, the physical distance from another person. So, in other words, is that you standoffish, that you don't want people close to you. They could walk up to you, take a step back because you don't want to be near them. They're telling them something that hey, you don't want to, or they say they raise their hand to shake your hands. You don't raise it. If somebody don't do it, they're telling you something about that person. They don't want to be touched, at least by you. Okay, the listening and speaking skills. Is that listening and speaking are required skills to learn and to teach. For example, learning and teaching on the job takes place when giving or taking instructions, offering or listening to presentations, participating in team discussions, walking with coworkers and supervisors, talking with um, coworkers and supervisors, and talking with clients. All those are listening and speaking skills that need to be created because when we need to pass on information, it needs to be able to have it in a form that people would understand it. So, active listening on the job is extremely important as we work together as a team and to get things accomplished. Everyone needs to know, be on the same page to know what has been said is understood so the outcomes will be done correctly. Because where times where things could be unproductive is when there is a misunderstanding in communication. So again, uh, being able to speak and someone to hear you and understand, it needs to be equal. In other words, you cannot just assume somebody understand what you're talking about, but you must be able to um, uh, go back and forth. Sometime after you explain something, asking questions and have that person to repeat or go over or paraphrase something will be sometime necessary to make sure that they understood what's been said. Body language too. So here's one thing: a person can say anything. They could tell you exactly what you want to hear. However, the body language, unless you are a professional, you cannot fake that. So your body language tell you more about communication than what is coming out of your mouth. So if somebody is upset, you know that they're upset by the body language, um, because uh, somebody can talk loud all the time. That doesn't mean they're angry. It's just because they talk loud. But the body language will uh, give you that sign of the condition that they are in, or if they're in a good mood or in a bad mood, or they upset, or they are happy, whatever. So it says here, your body language, nonverbal communication, can easily send a message to a speaker. And yes, it does. And no matter what they are saying or not saying, the body language will tell something. So you speaking to somebody, they're not looking at you. Um, they seem to be preoccupied. They're doing something else. They uh, preoccupied with just other tasks. Basically, they're really telling you that um, they listening partially, so they may miss something. And if they do, you know why. Because they wasn't listening intently. So how to become an effective speaker? It says think about what you wish to say, but not while listening. In other words, a lot of times you want to maybe write down what you want to say and clean up some of the thoughts that may be running through your head and really be very specific about what you're going to say. When I have to speak, many times I will put notes down, sometimes bullet points, so I don't miss anything, and to make sure. And especially when there's something that you know that is very important, you want to make sure you write it out exactly what you want to say. So you don't, again, miss the point. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you just told them. In other words, that's what they call sandwiching the communication. In other words, the introduction is tell them what you're going to talk about, and then the body of it is what you really want to tell them. That's the bulk of it. And then summarize. So at the very end, say tell them what you told them. Basically, you're just summarizing what you just said. And so in other words, they heard it 3 times. Matter of fact, when you're writing papers, it's the same thing. That's how you should do it. Introduction, the body, and a conclusion. Basically, you're just repeating the same things 3 times in different ways and giving clarity to certain things. Organize your ideas logically. That's why I say write it down. Speak at appropriate places and times. Encourage note taking and do not over explain things, especially with customers. You were explaining, you just will just lose them. They will stop listening to you. What they said is that you speak more than 20 minutes at a time. Most people don't remember half the things you said. So keep the communication short but detailed. Speak clearly and maintain eye contact. Do not communicate with others while talking to someone else. And that I really hate that. Somebody's speaking to you, then they're on the phone at the same time. Who are they talking to? Call me back when you finish your conversation. That's just me. But anyway, be certain all listeners understand the jargon, the terms you're using. So if you're using job specific jargon and somebody that don't know that jargon, such as a customer, it may sound like you know a lot, but you lost them. Best thing to break it down, simplify it, or leave the jargon out altogether. Provide time for questions and offer clear answers. Ask if the listeners understand. Here's some other guidelines. Do not allow phone calls in or out. In other words, when you talk to somebody, if you have to take a phone call, excuse yourself and let them know I'll be right back. I have to take this call for whatever reason. But in other words, not to distract you from other things or what's at hand, especially on the job site. You want to make sure that you take care of things. So a lot of times I put my phone on vibrate and I check it later once I finish. Um, Wait for a designated break to make those return phone calls. Do not operate telephones or similar devices anytime. It can pose a safety hazard. So in other words, you're on a crane. Only if you're using a phone on a crane, you should be talking to that crane operator. That's it. Nobody else. Um, so in other words, is that it can be very dangerous if that happened. Um, be aware of all company and or job site policies regarding telephone use. Telephone cameras um, represent a serious threat to a company's intellectual properties. Respect that. What they mean is that um, taking pictures on the job is something that may be unique or something new that no one that the company is really trying to put out there. But you turn around and take pictures of and show all your friends, and then they find out that somebody stole their ideals and things. That can be a lawsuit, believe it or not, infringing on somebody other um, intellectual properties, something that they came up with, something they designed, something that's unique. When placing a call, identify yourself first, give your name, and then politely ask them to identify themselves. Who am I speaking to? Speak clearly and explain the purpose of your call. Take notes as necessary. Keep voicemail messages brief. Have a clear message prepared for recording before you make a call. Leave your contact number and the best time of day to call back. Speak the number slowly and clearly and then repeat it for clarity. In that way, they keep someone from missing something. Yes, you might be in a rush to get off the phone, but if you're really truly looking for a phone call back, take your time and give clear information. Receiving telephone calls, identify your company and yourself clearly when you are first accept a phone call. Do not place any other caller on hold for very long. Transfer calls politely and let the recipient know who is calling. Um, Keep calls brief. It is best to hold telephone conversations in a private locations rather than in front of others. And usually what I do, if there's others around me, I will walk away because uh, I don't want others to think that well, put it this way, make their phone call important. It's important to them if they're calling you. Alrighty, let's go over some questions. Which of these is an example of communication noise? The sender is not specific. That's noise. It's confusing. The sender has poor listening skills. The sender should be sending out, should have good communication skills. But anyway, it is sender is not specific. In other words, it's not clear what they're trying to get across. All of these barriers to listening itself. What? All of these are barriers to listening itself. Which one of these? Motions. That certainly can be a barrier if your body language and emotions you're going through, boredom, distractions. The only one that's not dealing with listening is posture. How are you standing? If you slouched over, has nothing to do with listening. It is considered uh, rude and unprofessional to talk on the phone in front of other coworkers, supervisors, or customers. That is true. Yes. In other words, walk away, give them privacy. All of these are examples of nonverbal communications except blank. Nonverbal communication. Jargon. Jargon is actually verbal communication. Jargon is what you're saying to someone in a slang of um, that trade. So it's jargon. Blank is the process that involves respecting others, listening to what is being said, and understanding what is being said. What is that? That's what we call active listening. Active listening is going through the whole process of listening, trying to understand, respecting others,